Decisions from Barnstable's former town manager, fair plan rate hike discussions, and the Patriots heading to the Super Bowl on this episode of Barnstable Today. I'm Sarah Colvin. It's Monday, January 3rd, 2012. Former town manager John Klim told the Enterprise newspaper last Friday that he will not be returning to a position in the town of Barnstable. Instead, Klim has taken a job in another community. No word on the location of that community at this time. Acting town manager Tom Lynch comments on this news.
You know, John and I had a very close working relationship, and I have to really thank him for, having the confidence in me to bring me on, and then for being, the type of manager who had me sitting at the table for all of the major decisions and the working through the budget, whether it's the operating budget, capital budget, and all the issues that we deal with on a regular basis. I think from, John's perspective, he certainly leaves a legacy of success over 12 years, whether it's, improving the capital budget and our capital position, or the consolidation of the school and municipal finance, which is still, very innovative and different in the Commonwealth, having balanced budgets each year, going through a very tough, we're coming out a little bit, as we heard at the Mass Municipal Association, but there's still, a lot of towns are still struggling with their budgets. We've been able to maintain a fairly steady situation where we haven't had great highs or great lows, and John has to take a great deal of credit with working closely with his managers. So I think it was a personal decision for him that, there had been a high level of accomplishment, that maybe it was a time to move on.
Obviously, Tom, you've been working with John for several years
yes.
now, as you mentioned, and you have been our de facto leader, our acting town manager now for a few months. And, you're quoted in the paper as saying you've been energized by the job. And definitely, working with you myself, I see that you really have taken the initiative and seem to be quite enjoying leading our town of Barnstable.
Well, I have been. It's a privilege to serve the town. I've been able to, over my career in public service, have a lot of different either volunteer or, in this case, paid opportunities to participate in state and local government. And this, being the number two person, I had a lot of responsibility, but, John always had the final say, and he set the tone for how we would interact with different issues. And I, learned a lot from his management style, but also have a style of my own. So I've been, working closely with a management team. They enjoy working as a team, and we don't seem to have missed a beat. We're moving forward, and I hope to be, perhaps considered as a part of that, but that's a decision that we'll leave overall to the town council, of course.
Right, and that leads into, you almost answered the question I was just about to ask, because of course your contract for acting town manager lasts until March, so you say you are hoping, or you will put yourself in the running to lead the town in the future.
Well, I think what has to happen is the council has to figure out how they're going to proceed now. Will they look internally, or will they, move forward with a nationwide search? And there are decision points all along there for anyone thinking of applying. So I'll certainly listen to what their approach is going to be, and hopefully that I'll be a part of working with them in the future.
Exactly, and I know now that John has made his decision, I know we'll definitely see some things moving forward in terms of, the town council forming a committee or a subcommittee, or, deciding all amongst themselves and not making that committee to kind of get that ball in motion. I know in my conversations with Fred Chirigotis, our town council president, he had indicated he was waiting to hear, what John wanted before moving forward. And I think now that that decision's been made, we can move forward.
I think based on the way the, election had gone, and there were lots of folks talking about they'd love to have John be able to come back. They thought it was a good team. And so I think there was that anticipation of, would that be the first conversation? Would they be sitting down, and what would they be, talking about and negotiating with John? Now that that first step has been taken, I think the rest of the dominoes, if you will, begin to fall in place, and we'll see how they set up the process from here.
Town Council President Fred Chirigotis is expected to soon assemble a committee to begin the search for a permanent town manager. Meanwhile, Barnstable police continue searching for a man who was possibly involved in a shooting on Hiramar Road last week. 31-year-old William Hayes is believed to be the man who may have fired the bullet that went into the window of a home on Hiramar Road last week. We'll learn more about this incident when Barnstable Chief of Police Paul McDonald joins us tomorrow on Barnstable This Morning. Some Massachusetts homeowners could see their insurance policies go up. State Rep Randy Hunt comments on the recent hearings regarding the FAIR Plan's rate hike request.
I did talk to Dan Wolf, who was bringing the Cape delegation's testimony to that hearing. I talked to him on the way up there just to kind of get a recap of the things he was going to press on. And I thought that, there were some pretty good points to be made. Number one, that there are other companies that are springing up willing to write insurance in this area. Now, a couple of years ago, it was a very different story. And so, one, I would suggest to everyone, if you're on the FAIR Plan, you might want to scout around and see if there's some other deal from another insurance company that will write a policy that you weren't able to get a couple of years ago. In the testimony, and the reason that's important as part of the testimony is it does seem to be, it's becoming more of a competitive market, which means that it's not a good time for the FAIR Plan to start cranking up its prices, in my opinion. Second thing, and I thought this was really a good point, we do know that they stopped putting hurricanes at the 4 and 5 level into the model where they're predicting the weather, but we live on a sandbar. We rarely have an instance where flooding is a concern. We rarely have an instance, well, I can't think of any, maybe a dozen years ago we had a water spout hit out in Buzzards Bay, but tornadoes essentially just don't disturb this area. And so a couple of the things that can create a lot of problems just don't exist out here, but they're not taken into account. And one of the things that Dan brought to the hearing last week was, we have other mitigating factors that we're paying for, but we don't experience in the way of floods and in the way of tornadoes.
Right, Randy, and I know that's something that raised a lot of concern amongst the policyholders and homeowners here on the Cape, is those models used to predict the levels of flooding, the hurricanes especially, and other natural disasters that historically, if you look at the area, and as you just said, we just simply do not experience.
Well, that's an important factor, and the fact that they don't consider that as part of the rate, they don't consider the fact that we don't have those things as part of, lowering our rate here means that we're paying top dollar for being on the coast. I understand, part of that reasoning. And we're paying for all of those things that happen in the middle of the state and elsewhere in the United States that we don't have happen here. And so I think it's a reasonable argument, and I know that the Attorney General is on the side of not cranking up those premiums.
Representative Hunt says he expects an answer within a month's time. And finally, the town's Renewable Energy Committee meets this evening and could take a vote to recommend a new method of trash disposal to the town council. Energy Coordinator Richard Elrick says the pending end of the Cavanta CMAS contract in 2015 has forced the town to take a look at future solutions.
Two most significant ones, I think, that would have the biggest impact would be if we were to go to a town-wide curbside trash and recycling program where all of the residents were included. Presently, we have approximately 2/3 of our residents that utilize private waste hauling disposal, and a third use the transfer station. And the other key item that's being considered as highly effective in reducing a town's waste stream is something called, and we've talked about it before, pay as you throw. It's the idea that residents are charged to dispose of their trash based on the amount of that trash.
The Renewable Energy Committee meets this evening at 5:30 at Barnstable Town Hall. New England fans are smiling and breathing a sigh of relief today. The Patriots beat the Baltimore Ravens 23-20 in yesterday's playoff game. The Patriots will play the New York Giants in the Super Bowl in 2 weeks. With Barnstable Today, I'm Sarah Colvin.